Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really big challenge in AI right now. It's about how these large language models handle problems that are genuinely complex. The kind needing multiple steps, maybe using outside tools like web search or running some code.
Yeah, and if you look at things now, there's sort of this tension. You've got these massive, single brain models, the monolithic ones. But when the task gets really long or they need to juggle lots of different tools, they can become unstable. It's hard for them to keep track over, say, 10 steps.
Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, you have these agentic systems built with multiple parts, different modules to handle different jobs. The issue there, though, has often been that they aren't really trainable. They tend to use fixed rules, sometimes rules someone literally wrote out by hand. And that logic can be brittle.
Brittle, yeah, that seems to be the main issue. If something unexpected happens, like a tool gives a weird result, the whole thing can just fall apart.
Right, and that multi-turn interaction just collapses. So the research we're looking at today tackles this head-on. It introduces a framework called AgentFlow. The idea is it's trainable. It coordinates different specialized parts, but crucially, it learns how to plan during the process itself. It's not using static rules.
Yes, it uses a new training technique that optimizes the planning policy right there in the middle of the multi-turn interaction.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack that. We need to understand AgentFlow's architecture, its core modules, and, maybe most importantly, get into this new training method, Flow-GRPO. Because that seems to be how a, relatively small 7 billion parameter model can outperform giants like GPT-4o on tough reasoning tasks.
If that's the plan. It's quite a compelling story about smart design potentially winning over just sheer size.
Let's start with that architecture then. Modularity. Why break it down instead of using one big model?
Well, the core idea is stability and specialization. Instead of asking one model to be good at planning, calling tools, checking results, and writing the final answer, AgentFlow splits the work. Think of it less like one overburdened genius and more like a focused team.
A team. Okay, so what are the roles on this team? You mentioned 4 modules.
4 specialized modules, working in a loop. The first, and the one that learns, is the planner, or the action planner, P. This is the trainable policy. Its job is strategy. It figures out the sub-goals and decides which tool is needed next: search, calculator, code execution, whatever it might be.
So the planner makes the call, chooses the tool, then what?
Then it passes the job to the executor, module E, the tool executor. This one is the doer. It takes the planner's instruction, actually calls the selected tool, and gets back the result, the observation. That could be search results, code output, maybe an error message.
Okay, plan, then execute. What's next?
Quality control. That's the verifier or execution verifier V. This module looks at the result from the executor, considers a history of steps so far stored in memory, and makes a crucial decision.
Which is?
Does the system have enough information now to actually answer the original query? It outputs a signal, basically, keep going or stop, we're ready. This stops it from answering too soon or getting caught looping endlessly if it's stuck.
Right, prevents those infinite loops or premature answers. Makes sense.
And only when the verifier says stop does the final module kick in, the generator, the solution generator G. Its only job is to take everything gathered and produce the final solution.
Plan, execute, verify. Repeat until the verifier says done, then generate.
That's the loop. And the key is how they communicate.
Right, you mentioned a shared memory.
Yes, a shared memory, M. It's not just some abstract concept. It's designed to be a deterministic, structured log of the whole process. Every plan, every execution result, every verification signal, it's all recorded step by step. So you have this transparent trail of reasoning. Plan, right arrow, execute, right arrow, verify, all updating the shared memory.
Okay, that structure seems clear. But now the learning part, this Flow-GRPO. You mentioned the big challenge is long horizon credit assignment. Can you break that down?
Sure. It's a classic problem in reinforcement learning, especially with sequences. Imagine the agent takes an action on step 1, but the final success or failure of the whole task only becomes clear 8 steps later. How does the system know that the action back on step 1 was actually good or bad?
Right, how do you assign credit or blame so far back in time? Especially when the only feedback is like, yes, you got the final answer right, or no, you failed.
That's the difficulty. The reward is sparse. It only comes at the very end. Traditional methods, like supervised fine-tuning or SFT, they really struggle here. SFT trains the model offline, basically having it imitate successful examples. But that's detached from the real-time messy feedback you get when actually using a tool, which might fail or give weird results.
So offline imitation doesn't prepare it for the dynamics of actually doing the task live.
Not effectively, no. And that's why Flow-GRPO is different. It stands for Flow-Based Group-Refined Policy Optimization. The key is that it's an on-policy algorithm. It learns in the flow, meaning the optimization, the learning, happens during the live interaction loop.
Okay, in the flow. But how does it solve that credit assignment? How does step 1 know it contributed to success on step 8?
It uses a really clever, maybe surprisingly simple approach to reward propagation. When a trajectory finishes the whole sequence of steps, the system checks if the final answer was correct. It generates a single binary reward, 1 for correct, 0 for incorrect, just one number for the whole trajectory.
Okay, one final reward.
And here's the trick. That single reward signal is immediately broadcast back and assigned to every single turn, every decision point within that trajectory.
Wait, so every step gets the same reward signal, whether it happened early or late?
Yes. If the final answer was right, every planned decision made along the way gets a success signal. If it was wrong, every decision gets a failure signal. This transforms that really hard, long horizon problem into a series of much simpler, single-turn updates. Each local planner decision is directly linked to the ultimate global outcome.
Ah, I see. So it doesn't need to figure out the exact contribution of each step, just whether the overall path worked or not.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And to handle the noise and instability that can come from learning inside this dynamic loop, it uses a technique called group-normalized advantages. That just helps stabilize the updates and make sure the learning is robust, even with that sparse final reward.
Okay, that makes sense. It's aligning every choice with the final goal. Now let's talk results. Does this approach actually work? You mentioned it outperforms baselines.
It does, quite significantly. The paper shows AgentFlow, using just a 7 billion parameter model as its backbone, achieved really strong gains over top specialized baseline systems. We're talking average accuracy increases of 14.9% on knowledge-heavy search tasks.
14.9%. Okay, what about other areas?
14.0% better on broader agent tasks, like the GIIA benchmark, 14.5% on math reasoning, and 4.1% on scientific reasoning tasks. Consistent gains across different types of complex problems.
And the big comparison against something like GPT-4o.
This is probably the most striking finding. That 7B agent flow system actually performed better than the much, much larger GPT-4o, which is estimated around 200 billion parameters across all the domains they tested.
Better than GPT-4o with the 7B model. That really highlights the impact of the architecture and the training method.
It suggests that how you structure the problem and how you learn might be as important, or maybe even more important, than just raw scale, at least for these kinds of tool-using tasks.
So how to get better? Did the planner learn specific strategies?
The analysis shows clear evidence of strategic adaptation in how the planner uses tools. It's quite insightful. For instance, on a task called toWiki, which needs broad general knowledge, the trained planner learned to use Google search much more. Its usage increased by 42.0%. It got better at general searching.
Okay, so it leaned into the general search tool for general knowledge. What about specialized knowledge?
That's where it gets interesting. On MedQA, a medical question answering task, the strategy flipped completely. The trained planner learned to drastically reduce its use of general Google search calls, dropped from over 66% down to about 11%.
And what did it use instead?
It learned to favor a specialized Wikipedia search tool, presumably better for focused medical info. Its usage went from 0 initially up to nearly 60%. So it didn't just learn to use tools, it learned which tool was best suited for the specific type of problem. That's a sophisticated adaptation.
That's really smart. It's not just using tools more, but using the right tools more. What about just basic competence, like calling the tools correctly?
There's improvement there too. The rate of tool calling errors, things like formatting the request wrong, consistently went down during training across all tasks. On the GAIA benchmark, for example, these errors decreased by up to 28.4%.
That's a significant drop. It means the planner wasn't just choosing the tool, but learning the syntax, the details of how to actually make the call work properly.
Yes, learning the nuances of invocation, which is crucial for reliable tool use. Fewer failed calls means more efficient progress.
And what about when things do go wrong? Does the trained agent handle errors better? You mentioned brittleness earlier.
The case studies suggest much better resilience, yeah. They showed examples where an untuned agent would hit an error, say, from the Python coder tool, and then just stupidly try the exact same failed command again, getting stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
Error, same command dash the same error.
Right, frustratingly common.
But the agent trained with Flow-GRPO showed it could recognize the failure, analyze it, and then pivot. It would autonomously try a different approach, explore a new path, and often find a way to recover and still solve the problem. So the training didn't just optimize for success, it also taught the agent how to effectively recover from failures. Self-correction.
That self-correction capability seems vital for complex, multi-step tasks where things inevitably go wrong sometimes. Okay, so Flow-GRPO seems key. You mentioned an ablation study earlier, where they tried training it differently. That often tells a powerful story.
It really does. This is probably the most crucial piece of evidence supporting the in-the-flow learning approach. They took the exact same AgentFlow architecture planner, executor, verifier, generator, but instead of Flow-GRPO, they tried training the planner using standard offline supervised fine-tuning, SFT.
So training it by showing it examples of perfect solutions, but offline, not live.
Correct. Training it on a static data set of expert trajectories. And the outcome was, well, not good. It was a catastrophic failure. Using SFT to train the planner resulted in a massive drop in performance across all tasks. We're talking an average accuracy decrease of 19.0% compared to the baseline model before any training was even attempted.
Wow. So trying to teach it by imitation actually made it significantly worse than just leaving it untrained.
That's what the data shows. It completely backfired.
And that really underlines the whole point, doesn't it?
It confirms the core hypothesis quite dramatically. Static imitation learning just doesn't capture what's needed for dynamic multi-turn planning, where you have to react to tool feedback in real time. The success depends on the whole trajectory, not just imitating individual steps in isolation.
Whereas Flow-GRPO, learning live and optimizing for that final outcome.
Exactly. That on-policy, outcome-driven approach is what worked. Flow-GRPO led to a 17.2% average gain over that same frozen baseline, a huge swing compared to the SFT failure. It shows learning how to achieve the goal is different from just learning to copy the steps.
That's a very clear contrast. What about stability in other ways? Does the framework handle scaling well, like bigger models or longer tasks?
Good question. They did look at that. First, scaling the backbone model size they tested, going from a 3 billion parameter model up to the 7 billion one. The performance improved consistently with the larger backbone, suggesting the AgentFlow architecture itself is stable and benefits from a stronger base model, as you'd hope.
Okay, so it scales with model size. What about letting it run for longer, giving it more steps?
They also tested increasing the maximum number of reasoning turns allowed during inference, going up to 10 turns. And across all tasks, allowing the agent more steps consistently improved accuracy. It didn't plateau or get worse with more thinking time.
Which suggests it's actually using those extra steps effectively for reasoning and potential self-correction, not just getting lost.
hmm It confirms the system benefits from a longer reasoning horizon and isn't just reliant on getting lucky in the first few steps. It can handle more complex, extended problem solving.
Okay, let's try and summarize the main takeaway here. What this research, this AgentFlow system, really shows us.
I think the core message is that for cracking these complex, multi-step problems that need tool interaction, just making models bigger and bigger might not be the only answer, or even the best one.
Right. It seems to be about the combination. A smart, modular structure, the agentic approach, coupled with a learning method that's dynamic and focused on the actual outcome.
Yes, that combination of trainable modularity and outcome-driven in-the-flow learning, like Flow-GRPO, seems incredibly powerful. It lets smaller, more efficient models punch well above their weight.
Trainable modularity beats static monolithic scale, at least in this context.
That seems to be the implication. And looking ahead, the researchers themselves point out something interesting.
Oh, what's that?
Well, this current work focused all the Flow-GRPO training effort just on the planner module. The executor, verifier, and generator were kept frozen.
Ah, okay, so only the strategic part was learning.
Right. Which naturally leads to the question, what happens if you apply this same in-the-flow, outcome-driven optimization to those other modules too? Could you train the executor to be better at handling tricky tool outputs, or the verifier to be smarter about knowing when to stop, or even the generator to craft better final answers, all using this same principle?
That sounds like a whole new level of potential optimization, training the entire team, not just the CEO.
It's a logical next step and could unlock further gains, or perhaps exploring more nuanced reward signals beyond just the final binary outcome. Lots of interesting directions.
It definitely feels like we're just scratching the surface of what these trainable agentic systems can do. This has been a fascinating look at AgentFlow and Flow-GRPO. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hopefully it gives you plenty to think about as you explore how AI is learning to tackle ever more complex challenges.